Okay, today we're going to go over this Jack Mill cylindrical grinder. This is currently wired for 220 volts, 230 volts, 3-phase. So you see over here on the floor is the hydraulic power unit. The table slide is hydraulic. The grinding wheel has a rapid movement in and out. That's also hydraulic. You have your workhead here with variable speeds by changing 4 different speeds by changing the belts in here. Now this workhead is a Morse taper number 4, and there's a reduction sleeve in here for a number 3 center. The tailstock is a number 3 Morse taper center. Okay, so we serviced this machine here. We took the tables apart and cleaned underneath the ways and checked the lubrication. Your lubrication pump is right here, by the way. You give this a couple of pulls. The oil works very nicely underneath there and underneath the slide. This headstock can be rotated, can be swiveled to 30 degrees so you can grind your own centers. You have a swing down ID attachment for doing internal grinding. This is basically, other than the power in and out and your power table, your in-feed here is by hand. This is hand feed, in-feed. You have to rotate this until you touch the wheel or touch your part. When you want to move the dial and not move the slide, you have to push this knob in. Now that now disconnects this from the in-feed screw. So when you want to connect the in-feed screw, you have to pull this knob to the out position. Starting the grinding wheel. The grinding wheel is on. This here is a swing, a dresser. It's a nice thing to have because when you're not using it, you can fold it out of your way like this, or you can fold it down. And it has a micrometer adjustment, so I could stop my table with this lever here and come in with my hand wheel until I touch the wheel, touch the diamond. Somewhere in there, come on. You always want to make sure that you are forward and you don't have an accident. That's just touching now. So I start my table again. And if you have your stop set like I have right now, you could dress your wheel. Now the nice thing about this is it has a micrometer adjustment here where you could feed your diamond in right from here and know how much you took off your wheel, so you can compensate on the hand wheel. Alright, so when you're done dressing the wheel, you fold that out of the way. Your table speed is controlled with the knob right here. I could slow it down or speed it up. These dogs obviously can be stretched out so you have the full length of the table. You have a tarry on the right and a tarry on the left. When you want to move this by hand, you have to shut this off and push this in. And then you have by hand. If you forget to pull this out, you're going to have your hand wheel moving at the same time as your table's moving. So you want to disengage this so that doesn't happen. So that's pretty much it. Over here, this is your emergency stop button. This is your retract. This is coming forward. You always want to come forward first and then set your table stops and set your everything for your workpiece. Set up your dresser. You don't want to make a mistake and have it set up and then come forward. Over here is a key. I guess you could have had a lockout, but this right now is disconnected on the inside, so you don't have to worry about that. The spindle itself, behind the machine, is another similar tank to this one that has spindle oil in it. This spindle is running with a constant bath of oil, and that gets mounted behind the grinder. So that's pretty much it. You've got a coolant system that'll sit here and connect up to these wires. We have some tooling. There's a 3-point steady rest. There's another wheel hub. You've got some splash guards going around here. Again, you've got a fine feed dial on your in-feed hand wheel here. You've got a positive stop at 0 when you want to come around to 0. Again, when you want to move this but not to slide, just to put your number, you touch it off, you got to take 10 thousandths, you set this to 10 thousandths, and then you pull that out and feed this down to the 0 or to your dead stop. When you're done, you bring the wheel back. So that's it. That's the Jack Mill cylindrical grinder. It's nice and quiet. Again, Morse taper number 4 on the workhead. This actually has a small reduction sleeve down to Morse taper number 3, and your tailstock is the Morse taper number 3. That's it. Thank you very much. Okay, so I have removed the tailstock from the machine and the dresser, the swingback dresser, just to kind of demonstrate this ID grinding accessory that's on top here. And I assume, since this machine has been sold, that I'm making this video for the future owner. So if you find yourself having to use the ID spindle, there's a little clip over here that you loosen it, and then it folds down against the face here, and there's a couple of bolts that need to be put in there. Tighten that down. The belts for this I don't have. I have a belt, but it just keeps coming off. It's not the right belt, but this spindle has a very good feel to it and a good sound to it when it is running. The grinding wheel now is off, so to start the internal wheel, you'll see this motor start running, and it goes in the direction that the arrow is showing you there, counterclockwise, to spin the spindle counterclockwise. Now, one thing you have to be aware, if you're doing some kind of ID grinding, you're going to have some kind of a magnetic chuck on here holding your piece, or a 6-jaw chuck or a 3-jaw chuck or whatever, but you're going to be grinding in and out of your bore. I would recommend that you use this machine at that point completely by hand. I would not have these stops set up because you're going to have to be able to come out of your part each time you get done grinding. Now don't forget that this machine also has this rapid in and out feature. Now, a lot of cylindrical grinders, more expensive models, would have a safety that would not allow the operator, once this is folded down or once it's turned on, would not allow this to go back. But in the case of this machine, they just shut the whole thing off. In the case of this machine, you have your rapid. So I would work with it in the forward position, but I would work with it completely by hand. I would grind my part. I would use the table by hand and just work that way, because this is not a fully automatic ID grinding system here. So this is something that's meant for you to do occasionally if you have ID work, and you have to be very careful that you don't do what I just said, to have this inside the bore and accidentally hit this button and have this whole thing go crashing through your workpiece. So as long as you're aware of all that, I recommend you work by hand, not by power table. Although you could set up your stops and you could have this reciprocating and feeding a little bit each time, but then you have to move this stop out of the way, or possibly pull this pin out of your way, and then come out of your bore, and then go back and look at what you just did. So that's it. That's the ID grinding with this machine. Thank you very much.